This is a special meeting of the School Board of Kenosha Unified School District Number 1. Notice of the meeting was given to the public by forwarding a copy of the notice to all requesting radio stations, Kenosha News. Purpose of the special meeting is to go over the agenda for the October meeting. Will you please stand for the pledge? Roll call, Denise.
Miss Adams, Mr. Bryan,
Here.
Mrs. Landry,
Here.
Mr. Tierney,
Present.
Miss Stevens, Mr. Price, and Mrs. Motter.
Here. Okay, and next we have the controlled entrances update.
Yep. Just a quick update as far as where we're at. At the October 28th meeting, we will be bringing forward a recommendation to authorize $333,000 to complete the design work for the 7 controlled entrances based on the plans that were recommended by the safety committee. The last safety committee, I believe, was October 1st. So many of the people in this room were part of that meeting, so thank you for your time and input on that safety committee. After we get the goal, then is to get a firm number or a pretty solid number that we can use to determine the best route to finance that. And we did discuss 3 different options at the previous meeting in September. So we will be coming with a recommendation once that design work is done. And I believe, John, that typically takes 3 months to complete the design work. And that's not 3 months from when the board approves or authorizes the money. That's 3 months from the time that the engineers or the company contractors start the work. So once that, if everything's approved, we'd be looking at 3 months, probably from November, December, to come forward with a recommendation, which would put us somewhere in February. So that is one of the, just wanted to give an update on that. I don't know if we have anything else to add.
Any questions? Yes, Carl.
Tar, can you explain a little bit, like, I guess, where the money's coming from with this?
So we haven't decided yet. So the determination will be from the board, but those options that we laid out was still, you have the option of holding out for referendum.
No, I mean, I'm sorry, at the $333,000.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. That would just be from our general fund. So
Okay.
essentially that's not a budgeted line item right now. So it would be, like a better term, planned use of reserves.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay. Next item would be the report of contract in aggregate of $75,000, Gordon Flesh Company.
Yep, this one's mine. So this is a kind of a routine item that we have. We have our copy machines, multifunctional devices, what they're called, but they're the big, huge copy machines that we have all over the district. So we don't own those. It's a lease cycle. So this cycle is up now, and the competitive process that we went through, we didn't do RFP because these are actually under some of the state pricing that we get to take advantage of. So there was some back and forth with the different companies, and this, it looks like our best option for now. But because of the dollar amount, it does fall under the category where we bring it to the board for contract approval. But these funds are kind of scattered throughout the district. So each school has their discretionary fund, so they're paying their lease payment on their machine. So it looks like a big number because it's aggregated, but this is just a normal kind of a item that we have for operations.
Questions for Tarek? All right, next item would be the new course proposals, high school band.
Thank you. We are going to be bringing forward these 2 new high school band courses. They are introductory to high school band and introductory to high school band honors. The purpose for this is to rate ourselves with the orchestra offerings. We do offer introductory to orchestra and honors. This would be targeted towards new to band students or new to an instrument students. Sometimes students choose to pick up an instrument as a ninth grader, and this course would then allow them to have those specific instruction and increase their technical proficiencies with that new instrument as a ninth grader. So it's an entry point. Not to say that we're not doing that right now, because if you do come and you want to join as a ninth grader, we would fit you into a different course, but this one would be specifically to appropriately schedule you into the course at your level as a new to band student. There is no cost to these two courses and no staffing implications at all.
Questions for Wendy? Carl?
Refresh my memory. Would this count towards an elective requirement if somebody signs up for
Yep.
band?
Yes, it would.
Okay. And I guess the other question I have is, I guess, a little bit more general, kind of along the same lines. If a student decides they wanted to sign up for something like sports, is there anything that would prevent us in policy from saying that would count towards like their physical education requirement for graduation?
No, we do not count sport participation for a PE credit. That would greatly impact our PE offerings and staffing.
Okay.
And we have, and Brian Mogensen can speak to all those points because we did have a committee that looked into that at
Okay.
some point. I was not in my position, so I don't really have the correct information to give you tonight, but I
Okay.
could give you information as to why KUSD chooses not to do that.
Okay, that would be good information because somebody brought that up to me
Yep,
recently,
thank
and I just wanted to ask. So
And-
thank you.
I can email you those
Yeah,
points,
please. Thank
the
you.
board.
I participated in that as well, and so there become some of the accountability issues related to it for certified staff. Right now, our certified staff at high school for credit obtainment, they're gym teachers certified in that, where not all coaches would be. You would have to set established thresholds, and then there's the equity of team participation on minimum requirements of participation. Can it just be that you get credit if you're playing or practicing? You know, how much, maybe you never actually get in a game, you're just on the practice team, things like that, and who's ultimately doing what type of assessment and grades associated with it. So there are some school districts that look to explore that, but from a district our size and to be able to implement that at some type of equitable level would just not be possible at this time. Yep.
Any other questions? All right, moving on. Fifth grade mathematics, adoption of instructional materials.
That is me again. Thank you. Stacy Cortez has led her curriculum review team through the process of K-5 math curriculum resource adoption. So they're at the point right now where we're coming to the board with the recommendations that committee has made, which would be to stay with Bridges, the resource that we use now, and upgrade to the 3rd edition. We're currently in the 2nd edition. So many of the teaching techniques and resources would stay the same, and we would upgrade those pieces that the publisher has upgraded. So we will be asking for approval of that, and that would be $400,000 from my teaching and learning budget. It impacts professional learning for next year and all of those resources that we would be purchasing. So we're bringing this forward now so that we can get a jump start on that to be prepared for summer learning. Yep.
What was the committee makeup? Were there staff members on there?
Yep. So in your packet, you actually have Appendix A lists the 26 members representing 10 of the 19 elementary schools. That was open to everybody in K-5 math. and we had 26 people come forward to engage in the work with Stacy.
Is this continuing that new math with the groups and the circles and the?
Sure is.
I vote no.
Application of mathematical concepts, deep learning, deep understanding of
Deep
mathematical
teach the parents
practices.
because it's blowing my mind.
I welcome you to sit in, and I can offer you some great classrooms to observe, and if that's up your alley.
I have dreams like that sometimes. All right, moving on. Are any other questions? All right, moving on to the annual school safety law requirements. Bill, is that you? Who's John? All right.
Good afternoon. I'm just here to tell you a little about the annual renewal or submittal to the Department of Justice Office of School Safety. It's an annual requirement. It entails updates to our district emergency management plan, which this year we don't really have any significant or really any updates to that. What does get updated, though, every year annually is what is given to each of the independent schools. It's more detailed information per school. It'll have all of their contacts, head custodian, administrative specialist, principals, social workers, deans. So those all get updated annually every year. So the major thing that is provided to each classroom is this document. In case of emergency, every classroom has this document in their pack that they take with them. So all of the kind of the guidelines unrelated to kind of the whole program in the other document is what's being updated as well. There also is information on the packet or the thing you have with links to all of the updates been done throughout the year. We have updated Alice drill information. Our first Alice drill was conducted on was conducted in 2025 on February 11th. The second one is going to be October 22nd of this month. So those are upcoming, and that information again is uploaded to the Department of Justice. And then we also do new staff training, attendee lists, and all these links in there kind of show the references on all the information that's being updated. So it's just an annual requirement that we provide to the Department of Justice.
And it's my understanding this is an annual report and it's not an action item on our part. Do we have to approve it?
I'm not sure how that works yet.
I believe we do have to have it approved.
Well, the board should approve it, yeah, but if it's tonight, I don't know.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
This is kind of you've been involved in a lot of the conversations that I might say are getting in the weeds of how we do things and our procedures for this, that, and the other thing. This is the stuff that we have to report to the state yearly.
Yeah, so by the end
You're
of the
aware
month,
of a lot more stuff that we do, a
December
lot
is
of
when that all
details.
gets uploaded.
Yep, so it is an item. It is an action item at the upcoming meeting on the 28th, as part of the law that was signed, I think, about 10 years ago, requiring that.
We had a discussion about what of the 9 items that we approved in July should be included in this. Like, does it get to that level of detail? And some of it is, and a lot of it isn't. It's just more us clarifying procedures of how we do things here.
Yep.
It's not part of the required stuff that we submit to the state.
Questions? Okay, thank you, John. Next, we have the Head Start semi-annual report.
Right. So you get this twice a year. This is, just the goal is to keep the public informed, to keep the board informed of how Head Start is doing. It's a pretty long report, but it basically, I got a couple of highlights here for you, but this is intended to report on how the program did last year. So we had, last year we had, 370 students. 389 is max. we had 360 students across 7 sites last year. This year, we're actually up to 370. 389 is max. I actually think that she said she thinks we might get to 389 this year. Some highlights from this report are the program is going through, they're kind of midway through a multi-year policy alignment with the new federal Head Start guidelines that are out there, and they're preparing for their upcoming federal monitor review and the evaluation that they do. And so that process is kind of changing from the feds. And so they're in this report, it kind of explains how they're adjusting to that. A couple of highlights that she shared in there. She feels like the family engagement remains a real strength for their program. 100% of families have completed partnership agreements. 90% of participating families are growing outcomes, participating in outcomes and assessments. She said that they also have had really strong gains in literacy, cognition, and social emotional development. More than 80% of the students are meeting their goals in those areas. An example that I kind of stood out to me was their social emotional growth at the beginning of the year. 68% of their kids were able to pass the test that kind of denotes kindergarten readiness in those areas. And by the end of the year, it was up to 89%. So it's something they're proud of.
Questions? I think there was a question from a board member about right now we have one board member sitting on the Head Start.
Yeah.
How do you get
The policy council?
the policy council? So if another board member wanted to be part of it, because we had Christine and she's no longer on the board, how would we get another? Do we just nominate them? Do we just say, okay, you're on? How do we? What's the procedure?
You know, that's something I can check into, and I was wondering, and I remember that. I'm sorry, with that email, I just need to follow up.
I remember
Find out how-
Christine,
I think it was
wasn't
just
it
at a board
Yolanda,
night.
and then it switched to Christine.
It was Yolanda and Christine, both of them.
They were both not
They were
voting
both-
members, though. One of them was the voting
One's
member.
a voting member. Okay.
So Yolanda was
Yeah.
originally, Christine took over, but Yolanda continued to attend, and now Yolanda is the voted one. So anyone else can attend.
So a
I
board
believe.
member can attend, just
Yes.
one is a voting member.
Yes.
Gotcha.
She said they've answered a lot of questions for people about funding with the federal government because of the federal program. They do have access to their funding. The portal where they get their money from is still operational, and they feel like the funding that they need for this year is should be safe. So
Third Friday enrollment report. I bet that's Chris.
Thank you, Madam President. This is your annual informational item. This is just a quick preview. You're going to have a little bit more of a graphical and chart-friendly version at the end of the month. But basically, we were expecting a several hundred student decline, primarily due to the birth rate. It was a little bit more than expected. That overage, or excuse me, that underage we're being off was mainly due to the fact that at the time when these enrollment projections were made, we had not had the official separation and then expansion at the state level of a local independent charter school that ultimately covered that gap. So aside from that, we were pretty spot on for a lot of areas, but we did see some fluctuations at some locations as well as some known grade levels. So, but I'll have further specific details as where the students that do exist, where they're going both internally and externally updated in comparison, where we look at homeschooled students, open enrolled students, those that go out to local, regional competition sites. Any particular questions that anybody has right now on it?
Okay. Then thank you, Chris.
Yep.
Next, we have the budget carryovers.
Change in fiscal year 24-25 budget first, right? This one's more of a housekeeping item, so please take note that we're talking about the year that we just closed, 24-25. We do have to formally bring to the board the changes that occurred between the adoption that was back in October of 2024 and then the end of the fiscal year here. So there are changes that happen along the way, and ones that trigger required board approval by 2/3 vote are listed below. and it's really just a formality. The actuals already happened. This is just kind of a housekeeping item to clean up the budget piece. There would be a class 1 notice that needs to be published as well in the Kenosha News after it happens.
Questions for Tarek? All right. Then we have the formal adoption.
Nope. Now the carryovers.
No, now. Okay. Okay, now the carryovers, then the adoption.
Yep. So switching gears. So now we're talking about items that we kind of alluded to in the annual meeting of electors. These are items that were budgeted for or received in 2024-25, not spent, but we're requesting to carry over into 25-26 in order for them to be spent where they're intended to. Some of them honestly are required. The biggest piece, you'll see this is a total request of $3 million, $3,042,000. 2.5 of it are required grant carried overs. So those, we really don't have a choice. Those are mandatory carryovers. Think of things like common school library funds. We have to use those towards common school libraries. So we will have, anything that was spent last year has to get carried and spent over in this year. We show the detail there. There's mental health grants, again, special ed transition grants. They're all listed below. Career tech ed, incentives. Those things are the required pieces. Then we also get donations throughout the year. And of course, you want to use the donation for what you accepted them as. So those are also required to carry over. And then the theater co-curricular carryover. So that's where the schools at the comprehensives retain their money that they have from ticket sales proceeds, and then it goes back into the program. So you see that listed as well. So these are items that we're asking the board to approve so that we can tack them on to the 25-26 budget.
Okay. Questions?
All right, now formal adoption of the 25-26 budget. So you don't have anything in your packets because we're literally working on it as we speak. Yesterday was a big day. October 15th was a big data dump from DPI. So I can give you a little bit of a preview of what we saw. This is one of those cases where I was right, but I wish I wasn't. So the equalization aid number that came in, that's our certified number, was within 0.29% of my guess for annual meeting. So I'll just give you one little highlight on that. So the DPI July 1 estimate put us at 147.5 million for equalization aid. For the annual meeting, I redo that number, or kind of reverse engineer the equalization aid formula because I know what our actuals are. DPI only knows what everybody put in for their budget. They don't know the actuals at the time. They still have to do the July 1 estimate. So we guessed that it would come in at 145.5 and it came in at 145.1. I wish it was the other way around, but the big story here is last year we had 154.5 million in equalization aid. Remember, the state budget did not increase that pot of money. So when they allowed us to do the 325 per pupil, all the school districts got that revenue boost for the 325, but the state didn't kick in anything. So what happens under revenue limit formula, tax levies go up to make up the difference. So that's why we'll be seeing a tax levy hike from this exact scenario, from the unfunded general state aid. That's one piece of information. Other things that we found out yesterday are vouchers. We saw some increase in voucher payments too. Independent Charter School, we see their final third Friday count enrollment, and as Mr. Keckler alluded to, we saw a jump from there too. And all those things, we're redoing revenue limits and doing all that. So you will have more detail and you'll have the formal adoption on the 28th of October where you'll see all of that. Our property values as well were released. Our certified property values annual meeting, we shared that we projected it would go up 7%. They went up 7.02. So we were right on that as well. So things are coming along, and you'll see a lot more detail.
Okay, next we have actually K, L, and M. We have 3 resolutions. So K, so we'll need somebody to read each of those resolutions. Any? Mr. Tierney, veterans? I'll read the veterans. Okay. Native American? That's what I was thinking. And Mr. Bryan? I'll do American education. There we go. All settled. And now we have our verbal updates.
Yep. Our one verbal update is really a verbal update that of something that we thought may happen that didn't. And so we'll keep it. Mr. Hamden can give a quick synopsis of it.
So Food Services was exploring joining a cooperative kind of group to, pool your spending power, if for lack of a better term. They explored it though, and we did a comparison of like $1 million worth of expenses of items from last year. What would they have been had they been in the cooperative? And it really looks like there would not have been much savings for them. A couple $1,000s at most, and it would lock them into more restrictive list of items that they could purchase. So this item won't be moving forward. I'm not going to be recommending application in there.
All right. That brings us to the end. Are there any other questions here before we? All right.
Motion to adjourn.
No, we
Can I
got
ask
one
a
more
question?
thing. We do have.
Yeah, Mrs. Lopez, Principal Lopez, asked me to just confirm: is there something happening at the board meeting in recognition of Head Start this month? No. Is there a resolution about Head Start? There's not, right?
It's going to be on the superintendent's report, Dr. Weiss said.
Is that what it is? Okay.
I think that's how we decided to recognize that. I'll get in touch with her tomorrow.
Great. Yeah, she
and
was thinking
tie
about
that up.
inviting a couple
Yeah.
of her council
I
members.
think we talked about doing it through the superintendent's report, so I will. I'll get in touch with her tomorrow.
That's
Thanks.
perfect. Thank you.
I think the superintendent's report is also going to include something about Dr. Price getting an award or being
Right.
recognized.
There's also the WASB recognitions
Okay.
For board members. So those 2 items.
Okay. All right. Next, we have our public comments. We have one speaker. I'm not going to read this whole thing because I don't think they're hearing it
Madam
anyway.
President,
So.
she's not entered the.
And she
room.
didn't enter the, okay, so we did have one person signed up and they didn't show up to speak virtually. So now
Motion to adjourn.
we have a motion to
Yeah.
adjourn. Is there a second? There's a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. We are adjourned.